Hello everybody, here's a quick update of what's happening in the middle of December. So we've done most of the growing this year, but as you can see here, this is kale and brassicas and things like that. These sort of plants grow through the winter, and they were really important back in olden days because it was a source of food for people throughout the winter, that along with potatoes. So they're still doing okay, but most of the stuff that we had in earlier in the year has gone now. People have been busy though. They've been planting up some new potato beds here, neatly labelled as well. All the potatoes that were here have been cleared out now, and that's where we had the bean plants over there as well. They're all gone. There's a few more brassicas here. So they'll keep growing through the winter. We'll get a nice crop of green leaves off them. I really like kale actually. It's a very tasty vegetable. Up here, the herb garden still looks pretty good, surprisingly. So that'll carry on through the winter too. We don't need to do much there. This is where the pumpkins were, so we'll have to dig over this bed properly. You don't really want to go mad for taking every single bit of plant out at this time of year. The stuff that remains will do a good job of holding the soil together, because over the winter it can get windy and it can get wet and sometimes the soil gets damaged. But if we keep a few plants in, that will help look after it. This bed's been mostly cleared and replanted. Look here. Mike has got his own bed here with onions, garlic and potatoes in. And there's another bed over there that Mike and Kath have planted up. They've been very busy. And that's got onions in too. The pond is, well, it's progressing. It takes a while for these things to get going. We don't want to sort of artificially plant things in there. We want them to be as natural as possible, so we're just going to leave that. And plants and animals eventually will all start moving in on their own. We're going to plant up some wildflowers here too. A bit early in the year for that though. Everything is really wet at the moment, I should probably point out. There's been quite a bit of rain. So the soil really would be too wet to dig anyway, even if we were going to do it. This is the plum tree, which, as you can see, is quite tall and straggly. It's not in fantastic shape. So one of the winter jobs we're going to do would be to prune that back quite a lot, I think. It was also shading the bed out over here. So if we make that smaller, the plums will be more accessible, and there'll be more daylight coming through too for the rest of the plants. So there's always jobs to do. You might think this time of year nothing's growing, I'll just leave it alone, and that's true to a point, but there's things you can do to get ready for the spring, because the spring will be here before you know it. So once it starts drying out, we'll start preparing this bed here. We'll start doing some tidying up. We're also planning to get some bags of manure from Amelia Trust Farm, so this is going to be a good winter job. The soil could always do with being a bit rich around here, because we didn't really start the year with much compost. So we're going to collect bags of lovely rotted down manure, which some people might think will be a bit smelly and horrible, but it's not. It's nice. So we'll get that from the farm, and then we can start laying that on top of the beds, and that will enrich it with lots of organic matter. And then if there's more goodness in the soil, then we should get even more vegetables next year than we did compared to this year, and we did pretty well this year. So that's what we'll be doing over the next month or two. Gardening is a year-round activity. As long as you don't mind getting a little bit wet and muddy, but it's still lovely and peaceful here, and lovely and green, and a nice place to be. If anybody fancies coming out to give us a hand with the clearing, please do let us know.